Welcome everyone to week 5 of macroeconomics. This is going to be our last week in the course, and there's going to be a lot of important information that you want to learn from this week. So make sure to focus on a couple different things, and very important that you focus on the key requirements of the week 5 paper. In this week, you're going to be reading chapters 17, 19, and 20. In week 5, we're going to look at basically international trade and emerging markets. When you look at this week, you're going to look at international trade, international finance, and the role of exchange rates in our economy. You'll notice they have a lot of impact on a lot of the markets and how they respond in our economy. In week 5, the macroeconomic impact of international relations is examined. Chapter 17 describes the distinct characteristics of developing countries, analyzes the role of population growth and human capital and their effect on developing countries. When we look at our economy, you'll notice a couple different things. You'll notice that we're going to be evaluating developing countries, developed countries, and emerging markets. The U.S. is an example of a developed country. And what you look at, they have less of an opportunity to grow compared to other countries, which is important to evaluate. In chapter 19, we're going to analyze the role of exchange rates and the balance of payments in settling accounts between nations. You'll notice that there's a couple different types of exchange rate regimes. You have a flexible exchange rate, a fixed exchange rate, and a standard exchange rate, which is able to move between two different places or two different pricing points that the government would like. The U.S. has what's called a flexible exchange rate. A flexible exchange rate means that the exchange rate can always change. A fixed exchange rate is what China has. A fixed exchange rate means that the Fed has to get involved to make appropriate decisions in our economy. Chapter 20 is going to be putting what we've learned into a global context by exploring the evolving role of government in the markets and other national economies. So for this week, let's focus on discussion 1. In discussion 1, we're going to look at foreign direct investment. Now, imagine you're in charge of development for a developing country and you're approached by a multinational corporation interested in locating in your country. What are some of the benefits, some of the costs to the host country from allowing a multinational corporation to locate in a country with a developing economy? Discuss with your classmates discuss with your classmates if developmental assistance from your developed agencies, such as the World Bank, United Nations, would be preferable compared to foreign direct investment. In this question, you want to look at the difference between emerging and developed markets and how foreign direct investment is going to influence these different markets. And once again, you want to make sure to have APA formatted in-text citation and reference in your work. And with your responses to your peers, make sure to have at least a paragraph response to 2 peers. Now, in discussion 2, you're going to be looking at economies that are in a transition. The movement in the direction of a market-based system with freely determined prices, competition, profits, private ownership, and other features of capitalism is not very simple. We're going to discuss some of the challenges associated with an economy transitioning from socialism to capitalism. When you look at socialism, you'll notice that the government makes decisions on the factors of production and the basic economic questions. But when we look at capitalism, you'll notice that the government regulates those markets, but they don't make decisions. More as the government regulates on the factors of production. But the factors of production answers the basic questions that we look at in our economy. And once again, you want to make sure to focus on an in-text citation and a reference in your work that's formatted with APA formatting. And the 2 responses to your peers should be at least 1 paragraph in length. Now let's go to your final paper. Your final paper is going to be looking at what we've learned in this course. And it's going to focus on both fiscal and monetary policy. Now, in an effort to move the economy out of recession, the federal government would engage in expansionary economic policies. Now, you want to focus on what would the Fed, or monetary policy, and the fiscal policy do to help bring about changes in our economy. Now, when you focus on fiscal policy, be very clear to look at how it affects taxes and government spending, and how it affects aggregate demand, GDP, and employment. I think it would be very important to actually draw the ADAS graph and see how this is determined on the graph, because I think that will help you understand changes in output, unemployment, employment, and inflation. Now, when looking at monetary policy, you want to look at what the Fed would do to the required reserve ratio, discount rate, and the money supply. When you look at those 3 tools, that's what the Fed has available to make decisions in our economy. Now, when you look at how these actions affect the economy, you want to look at how they're going to affect the aggregate demand curve. So if the money supply changes, how's that going to affect the interest rates, spending, aggregate demand, GDP, and employment? Not unemployment, but employment. In your work, make sure to have a reference page, title page, and in-text citations that are in APA formatting. Also, make sure to have 4 scholarly resources in your work. Also, make sure to look at an introductory paragraph, thesis statement, and a good conclusion. As always, I'm more than willing to help any papers that you want pre-graded, as I look forward to your papers, and make sure to submit your papers on time, because I cannot accept any late work in the course. I wish you the best, and I appreciate all your efforts throughout the week.